welcome you in to the Small Ball Podcast. Today is May 30th, Tuesday, 2023. I kind of jumbled that all up together. I don't know if you're supposed to say Tuesday after the May 30th, but it's still a Tuesday, May 30th in 2023 on the Small Ball Podcast. And we have a new guest. What? Yeah, Christian Dennis, he gets married, he consummates his marriage, and as he's consummating, something else is born. A new guest in Chris Fong. Chris, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, guys. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so excited after watching. I'm a big fan of Small Ball Podcast. I got some big shoes to fill. Christian Dennis, one of the greatest basketball minds of our generation.
Yeah.
Sure.
To be honest.
Big feet, size 11, big shoes to fill.
Yeah, big shoes to fill. But luckily, I have been known to have big feet.
Yeah. The biggest.
Think about my fantasy basketball team.
Yeah.
The Hobbits, known to have big feet.
True.
And for those listening, Chris is in the fantasy league that we've mentioned a couple times. Starting a dynasty because he has 2 championships, but I always say a dynasty doesn't start until you have that 3rd championship.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. It kind of reminds me of the Houston Rockets in the 90s.
Sure.
Really
good.
Really good. They win 2. You won't hear from them again.
Not a dynasty.
No.
And so that's what Chris Fong is.
But they have my respect.
But absolute respect. So, Chris, we are so glad you're on the show. Big basketball mind. You guys are talking about big things. And here's the thing. On this show, size doesn't matter. What matters is just being able to talk basketball.
Okay?
Okay?
You know what? Now that you mentioned size does not matter. This might be the smallest group of guys host this pod ever.
Yeah,
so
this
really
feels good.
Yeah.
Pulling the small ball name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great.
No. So, Chris, one other thing we need to know about Chris, though, because I think transparency is important. On this podcast, we have a lot of small ball fans. And, Trevor's Kings fan, Andy, Cavs fan, Matt G. He is a Thunder fan. Christian Kings fan, myself, a Nuggets fan. Chris, you want to say who you cheer for?
Prepare for the bleep button.
Yeah.
I am a Lakers fan.
We don't say the L word on the show.
What is tough is that I grew up in Sacramento with Trevor, with Christian.
Yeah.
All went to the same high
So
school.
why the L words?
But you know what? When I was a wee lad of 11 years old, I turned on the TV and I saw Mr. Kobe Bryant play basketball. And from that moment, I was hooked. Watching those championships he won, 2009, 2010.
Yeah.
Really couldn't get enough of that guy.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. I will say there are a lot of people who they choose the Lakers because of Kobe Bryant. Because I know a lot of people in the Midwest. That's what always threw me off being in Lincoln, Nebraska. I'm like, surely you're going to pick a team that's close. Like Denver or Oklahoma City, and they're like, no, we love the Lakers. I'm like, why? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. They're on the other side of the country. Why would you cheer for the Lakers? And it was like, well, I watched Kobe Bryant. So it's kind of a common story. I don't buy it. But it's common. It's common. No, but we're glad you're on the show, Chris. We've got a lot to talk about. Obviously, the game that finished the other night, or last night, the Miami Heat are going to the NBA Finals, taking care of the Boston Celtics.
Yeah, so impressive. They went up 3-0, and then everyone thought that Miami's going to sweep the Celtics, and the Celtics looked terrible.
Yeah.
Turns out, Celtics had a switch to flip. They win 3 in a row. Comes back home to Boston, Game 7.
Yeah.
They flipped the switch off.
They flipped it back off, and credit to Miami, credit to Jimmy Butler, to Eric Spoelstra, and the whole team over there. Think about it. They won 3 in a row and then lost 3 in a row. 3 games in a row. That is a major momentum shift. Every single person is, expecting Boston to win after winning 3 in a row. And they didn't let up. They didn't fold. They showed up when the pressure was the highest, and Jimmy Butler proved again why he is Himmy Butler.
Yeah, he was great. Caleb Martin was arguably the best player in the series. His shot-making ability was great. All those guys have have been able to hit shots, but Caleb Martin's kind of been the cream of the crop, and it's been Tyler Hero's injury that has shown this masterclass from Martin throughout these playoffs. I mean, he is going to be someone who is going to get a fat contract whenever that time has come because of this playoff run.
Yeah, he is a guy who, him and his brother who plays in Charlotte, are both guys who can defend really, really well. They're above average defenders, and they hit the three ball. Those two guys are the definition of 3-and-D. Super valuable piece in today's NBA. Big fan of him.
Yeah, and we'll talk more about the Denver versus Miami series here in a little, but on the flip end, all these guys step up. Jason Tatum, and then we go to Boston. Tatum gets hurt on like the first play of the game, and so you look to another guy, Jaylen Brown, who he's expected to get a Supermax contract this offseason. And
one more offseason, I think.
I thought it was this offseason.
They can extend him this season, but he still has one more
left
on his current contract.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
There's going to be some questions now after last night's performance because he did not play like a player who should earn $290 million.
Scott, I've listened to the podcast enough to where
Okay, sure.
I think you guys have a certain title you give to players that are on big market teams.
Ooh, it's a big title.
To underperform in the most dire situations.
Wow.
And I believe that term is big
Market bozo.
Jaylen Brown, the big market bozo of the week. Wow.
And Chris, I think that's a great title to give him because he had a chance to be a big market hero, but he was a big market bozo instead.
Yeah. He could have stepped up, seeing his buddy Jason Tatum go down with ankle injury. Obviously could not play to his fullest potential, but I think he had 8 turnovers.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was bad.
And a couple were dribbling off his foot.
You know what's funny is he also, the whole reason he wants out is because he wants to be the guy. I mean, sure, there's other things with the fans in Boston, but he wants out, and he wants to be the guy somewhere else. He had an opportunity to show why he deserves that, and he
major letdown.
Yeah, he played like me.
Yeah, no, if any of us were wearing that same jersey, which would be very big on us, because we're definitely not as tall as Jaylen Brown.
No.
It would look the exact... I mean, he looks so flustered out there. And again, that credits Miami's defense. But when you're only able to score 82 points in a game, in a game 7 no less, and there was like 3 minutes of garbage time, that's more on Boston just failing to hit open shots and to step up in the big moment than it is anything else.
Yep.
Like you can't expect to win any NBA game by scoring 82 points. That is terrible.
Let's go through his stat line really fast.
Yeah, give it to
43 minutes. So he played almost the entire game, 3 minutes of garbage time, like you said.
That's a long time.
43
19
minutes.
points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 8 of 23 from the field.
Oh!
1 of 9 from the line.
Wait, 1 of 9 from the 3-point line or free throw
1
line?
of 9 from the 3-point line.
Okay, yeah. You said the line, I was like, if Jaylen Brown shot 1 of 9 from the free throw line,
a horrendous percentage.
Yeah, that'd be wild.
that dude won't be
What
allowed.
would that percentage be? Who can get it the fastest? 1 of 9.
Okay.
12.5%, 13.
Okay, good. Yeah, I was going to say, well, it's a little bit better than 10% because that's 1 of 10.
You are the accountant.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yes.
True.
Yeah, that's another small ball fact. Chris is an accountant, which is good for numbers because that's not what Trevor
He's our numbers guy.
He's our numbers guy. Chris,
Yeah,
you're the official numbers guy of the Small Ball Podcast.
All right.
I am called upon, in our group chat to make, the Excel spreadsheets
Yeah.
and do some of that stuff, but
It's good.
I enjoy it.
I love that.
I love that a lot. For
This
Chris.
guy.
I
This
love
guy's
this guy.
so dang smart.
This guy's such a genius.
Should we make a stat muse account for Small Ball Podcast?
Whoa.
Could you do that? Could you set that up?
Oh,
would
you
be
have
so
to
fun.
you have to pay, right? Because
Well-
what do you mean? Make a stat muse account.
I'm not sure. Maybe we just put our faces on like the little
Oh,
graphics,
Yeah. So it's their own thing. I was going to say.
On Twitter.
And then if we can get big enough, then we sell out. And we then make people have to pay. It's just kind of that approach of like we start doing really well. First chance of selling out. That's what we do.
Yeah, and that's what we're here for.
Yeah. That's podcasting at its finest. Well, great. Chris, thank you for the numbers. Big market bozo, Jaylen Brown. One other thing, too, Boston's defense just looked terrible. I mean, Miami would set a simple high pick and roll. Al Horford would sag off on guys like Caleb Martin or Duncan Robinson. So now you're leaving three-point shooters just open on the top of the key.
Yeah. It was wild. They're backing off, and they look like Christian on the dance floor at his wedding.
Yeah.
Just backing it up. And I'm like, get up in there, man.
Yeah.
Christian, we miss you, man.
We miss Christian getting it in there.
So what's next?
So, anyways, let's move on. Let's talk about this NBA Finals matchup: Denver Nuggets versus the Miami Heat. And as a Denver Nugget fan, I have to say this was the matchup I was looking forward to more than the Boston Celtics. And a big part of that is there's a couple of things. First of which is size. And I know Boston had some size on Miami. This Denver team really has size. MPJ is 6'10". Jokic is 7 feet tall. Aaron Gordon is like 6'8", 6'9". And then obviously your two guards in KCP and Jamal Murray. Defensively, I don't know what Miami will be able to do with a lot of different question marks. One thing they did really well against Boston, they went into a zone. And that kind of disrupted Boston's offense. You can't do that as well against Denver because you're going against a guy who has maybe the best court vision in the NBA in Nikola Jokic. And so you add that into the equation, plus Bam being undersized against Jokic, and then dependent if Jamal can keep up his hot shooting, defensively, it is going to be very, very difficult. And the margin of error will be similar for the Miami Heat as you saw as the Phoenix Suns a couple series ago, where it was, we need Devin Booker and Kevin Durant to essentially keep pace with the Denver Nuggets. That's what Miami most likely will have to do in this series as well.
Yeah, Miami has a lot of things going for them, I will say. They're pros.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. I mean, Jimmy Butler's been playing really good, and he's Jimmy Butler. They have, Martin on in the corner. They have Duncan Robinson in the corner. Kyle Lowry can show up. Bam Adebayo has been kind of non-existent on the offensive end, but on defense, he has been there. They have Eric Spoelstra.
Oh, he's an X factor for sure.
Definitely an X factor. Tyler Hero's coming back here in a couple games. Their biggest con is that they have to go up against Nikola Jokic. Yeah. And with all of that said, Jokic has been unbelievable. The Nuggets have been playing. They have been the best, far and away the best team in the playoffs.
Agreed.
And I do not see the Heat beating them.
Andy?
Think about how the Lakers tried to guard Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray.
Yeah.
Nothing really worked. Jokic always got his. And I'm trying to think about how they're going to try and match up with the Nuggets. Do they try Jimmy Butler on Jamal Murray? Try to chase him around screens and stuff. How are they going to guard Jokic and Michael Porter's size? The Lakers just really struggled trying to put Austin Reeves on Michael Porter because he's able to shoot over him every time. I feel like a similar thing might happen with the Nuggets being able to shoot over any of the Heat guards.
I will say one thing. I think the Heat do have a Jokic stopper, and his name is Udonis Haslem.
Oh. Imagine Haslem coming in and just roughing it up.
He locks him up.
Well, what they could do is in the last, maybe in the fourth quarter, put him for 5 minutes, 6 fouls.
Foul him.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah.
They can, shoot from the free throw line.
Yeah.
Which Jokic is only shooting like high 80s.
Jokic bruises.
Free throw line.
Jokic bruises really easily. After those games, his arm is going to be just covered in bruises and scratches.
You always see the cuts on his arm.
Oh yeah, this dude. He bruises like an apple.
He does. I don't know why Trevor said that and just locked eyes with me.
I don't know why.
He's like, he bruises. I'm like,
I don't know what I'm saying right now. I hope Scott can save me.
Maybe it's like the Serbian sun is very gentle, so he's, always,
that could be.
Andy, you got something?
Yeah, I think one player that really surprised me this past series, and then looking back, I guess overall, throughout the entire playoffs was Gabe Vincent from the Miami Heat.
Yeah.
I thought Spoelstra used him very well, and and he's not going to be like the number one guy, but when he was put into the right position, especially what was it, like game 3, dude went off, got 30 points, and did exactly what he was supposed to do, and like he took his assignment and just ran with it. So I'm really excited to see how they use him this series. Obviously, the size difference is something to discuss, but it could be interesting.
There's a chance you could even see like Michael Porter Jr. on Gabe Vincent, which that's not a matchup you want if you're Miami. It depends on who their starting 5 is. That's where Spoelstra gets creative. Like we saw Kevin Love early on in the postseason. He struggled though late, but it almost feels like maybe you have to go back to that just to get something, because if not, I mean, Jimmy, Bam, Vincent, Martin, who's filling in that 3-4 role, you have to get a little size or else you're going to run into a very big issue where the Nuggets are very active on the offensive glass, and they had a ton of offensive rebounds against Phoenix in those first couple games, against really LA for most of the series. If you're Miami, you have to prevent offensive rebounding, or else that's going to be a huge issue. And Denver had like a 115 offensive rating against LA, who was the best defensive team in the playoffs and in the NBA, or like the last part of the NBA. They're dealing with a lot less size, but a smarter head coach, right? But I feel like Ham still had a good game plan. Spoelstra's better, but I don't know what Miami can do on the defensive end. But on the other side, obviously, they're going to get a lot of open threes as well because their offense is going to look pretty good.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
I agree.
It's hard to tell until we see them play. The Heat have not beaten the Nuggets since, I believe, it was 2016 or 2018. So it has been quite some time. Jokic just has a lot of success against Bam.
I want to call back to what episode did we predict Eastern Conference Finals?
That would be 50.
Episode 50.
Scott did call the Heat to win in 7. So, Scott, here are your flowers.
Give me my flowers, boys. I said Nugs in 6, Heat in 7. It was Nugs in 4, so it was a little off. But
good job.
Yeah, I got these finals. And
with that in mind, maybe we re-enter the crystal ball.
Crystal ball.
Let's make some predictions.
Should we start with Mr. Producer Andy?
Please. Prediction for NBA Finals.
Okay, I love this Heat team. I thought that they've shown like an extreme amount of heart and really what it takes to be a finals team. But, I mean, Denver is just unstoppable. Jokic is just on an absolute tear. Heat have momentum, but, so I wouldn't be surprised if they take 1 or 2. But I think in the end, we see Denver pull it off.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like that.
I'll go next.
Yep.
Denver versus the Heat.
Okay.
Trevor has Denver winning in foe.
Wow.
Denver
Nugs
winning in
Sweeping.
foe. They're
Get
going
out the
sweeping.
brooms.
They have been the best team. The fact that Miami lost 3, Miami lost their play-in game. They weren't good in the regular season, squeaked into the playoffs. Denver is far and beyond a better team. They're going to show it. They're going to dominate. They've had time to rest. Miami's been playing. Denver in 4.
Wow.
Let's get it.
Wow. Trev, I love that.
Yeah.
I will go next. Leave you for last.
Yeah, thanks, Chris.
Die hard. After watching the Nuggets obliterate my team, no words.
Wow.
I have to really hope that the Nuggets can also obliterate the Heat.
Yeah.
But I do believe that the Heat, Jimmy Butler, and all the role players, the undrafted guys, Coach Spo, that they can make a little run and they can win 1 game.
You had me for a
I
second.
think they can win 1
Yeah,
game.
that was good.
I think they'll win game 3 or 4 at home, but then the Nuggets are going to win it at home, game 5.
Wow.
He ain't
I
my
like
Spo
that.
no mo.
He ain't my Spo no more. And Eric Spoelstra, he's the best coach in the NBA. There's no doubt about it. I know Steve Kerr is there. Eric Spoelstra is a better coach than Steve Kerr.
Popovich?
Oh,
You forgot about Popovich sitting in his rocking chair in the corner. I'm Popovich.
He's with like Wembanyama.
He's cradling him. Yeah, Wembanyama's bundled up. Oh,
Okay.
that's nice.
Okay, so Spo is a top 2 coach in the NBA.
Thank you, Scott.
So I think he will have some really interesting adjustments that Denver will have to figure out. That being said, I think Jokic has a chance to has a chance to put up series numbers that we have never seen before, because of the mismatch against Bam. And so with that, I'm going to take the Nuggets in 5.
Whoa!
I think Miami will win Game 3. Denver wins Games 4 and 5.
Gentlemen sweep.
And nice, we're gentlemen.
I didn't know gentlemen were raised in Denver.
No, it's a gentleman's state. And if the Nuggets do win the NBA Finals, I mean, my life will be complete.
Yeah.
It will be up there as the greatest championship ever in the city of Denver.
Yeah.
The talk is either the Nuggets championship or the Denver Broncos first Super Bowl. It's like, okay, well, which do you choose? I would lean towards this Nuggets team because I was in my mother's womb for that Super Bowl.
Just chilling.
I was just chilling, just developing.
Scott, I do have a hypothetical for you.
Ooh. I like this.
Who is better,
Buckle
Jamal
in.
Murray in the past couple years or Carmelo Anthony back when he was on Denver?
Excuse me. Did you mean to say Jamal Murray?
Yes.
It is Carmelo Anthony.
It's Carmelo, dude.
Which I want to say Jamal because
We're just talking playoff performance.
Yeah, let's do playoffs. Yes.
Playoff Jamal, dude. His ceiling is the heavens, and it sounds ridiculous. Who he is in the playoffs is why I think everyone in Denver just loves him, because he just elevates his game to a standard that we haven't ever seen before in Denver. Like Melo was great in the playoffs, but I mean Jamal, that quarter against LA in Game 2 was one of the best quarters I've ever watched in my entire life.
I've never been more pissed off at a player than that moment.
As a Lakers fan?
As a Lakers fan, I was like, somebody please guard this guy. Please double him. Hit the ball out of his hands. Nothing would happen. Austin Reeves would do his little, shimmy close out, and he would just make it every time.
He made shots over LeBron, AD. It's unbelievable.
That was wild.
Yeah, he was hitting over like the best defenders in the playoffs. And then on top of that, I got a text from a Lakers fan. He's like, his name's Jacob. Jacob, if you're listening, thank you so much. You've sent a video to Small Ball. But he texted me and goes, dude, I would rather play against like Donovan Mitchell. He said a couple other names in the playoffs rather than Jamal. And I was thinking to myself, wow, Jamal has kind of hit that point where as a playoff performer, he's just shown now on multiple occasions. He rises for the occasion, which it's rare to have. I've never had it as a Denver Nugget fan. Jokic obviously always rises to the occasion, but having Jamal, it's life-changing.
Man, we all rise for the occasion.
We all rise.
Christian does.
No, yeah. Except,
Did we get a time on how he did on his marriage night?
Dance floor wise, yeah, he danced. He danced for
Sorry.
probably. How long do you think he danced for?
12 seconds.
Okay, yeah.
You think?
I think he was out there for a good hour.
Oh, hour.
Yeah. He was out there for a good hour.
I think he danced for a minute.
You think a minute? There is no chance he danced for a minute on the dance floor.
Yeah, he was doing all kinds of moves. He was like popping, locking, dropping, shoulder. Anyways, man.
Speaking
of Christian,
wait, we have something from Christian Dennis. He couldn't make the show, but he still wanted to send something in to the Small Ball podcast.
What's up, boys? It's Christian. I wish I could be there with you guys tonight, but I am celebrating my marriage. So honestly, it's a good excuse to miss an episode, unlike all of Trevor's excuses. Anyways, I wanted to be a part of this episode, even if I'm not there. So I have a trade proposal for you guys. There's a lot of speculation that the Portland Trailblazers are looking to trade that third pick for a player that can help, win for Dame. And so I was racking my brain of what they could possibly get. And seeing what Toronto's been doing, I feel like they need to shake it up and, build around Scotty Barnes and just kind of start building that nice young nucleus. So what are your guys' thoughts on Anthony Simons and the third pick for Pascal Siakam? I'm really curious to hear what you guys think.
Awesome time to cut off that video for Christian. He's like, all right, I've had enough. But it's a great proposal. And Chris, we'll start with you because you're the analytic expert. You're the stat guy. You also know how to be a GM. So that move.
Thank you, Scott. Wow.
Yeah, it's a respect thing. Not a dynasty.
Not yet.
Has to keep that in there so everyone knows.
But I mean, what are your thoughts on that potential trade?
I do like it a lot for Portland, obviously. I think Pascal is a much more scary player than Anthony Simons is.
Agreed.
But I also don't know if Toronto would do that. I think they might want more for, I would say their best player.
I think they would as well, especially after what we saw with Rudy Gobert and what Donovan Mitchell both commanded. I understand that it's the number 3 pick. But if they see, oh, wow, that team got 4 draft picks, 5 draft picks, and other compensation, I don't think Anthony, who's on a big contract, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
It's like a Jordan Poole type contract.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's getting paid significantly.
Yeah. So you have to take that on as a rebuilding team, and you don't even know how he'll mesh with Scotty Barnes, and you just get that number 3 pick. I don't think that's enough for the Raptors to accept.
No, man, this is tough. Listen, Pascal Siakam is a All-NBA talent. Halfway through this season, he was like playing really good, and people were talking about him being an All-NBA first-team guy. Excuse me. Now, with that said, I look at the Rudy Gobert, the Donovan Mitchell trades as kind of anomalies. Credit to Utah for getting what they got, especially the Gobert trade. That was a ridiculous trade. We can look back and just say that was awful. I think everyone would say that.
Way too much.
Way too much. So with that said, I look at that offer, Anthony and the third pick, and I'm not overly, I think that's a decent offer, a good starting place probably for a potential deal. Maybe you ask, and I know Portland fans are high on this guy, but maybe you ask for Shaedon Sharpe, and that seals the deal right there. Shaedon Sharpe, uber athletic, had some major flashes of, whoa, this guy could be a really good NBA player.
See, that's where things start to get a little more interesting if you add in that second player with that bright potential. Just something, because one pick isn't enough, in my opinion. I pulled up that Suns trade, obviously Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
Getting traded. That's going to haul a lot. But, I mean, you gave up Bridges, Johnson, and 4 first-round picks.
But that's KD.
It is KD.
That's another stratosphere.
It is. But Pascal Siakam was being argued as an All-NBA first-team guy for a long, good chunk of the season. It commands, I think, more than we realize. Like, GMs are not, especially if it's the best player in your team, you're going to want a lot in return, especially because who knows what Fred VanVleet is going to do.
Yeah.
Scotty Barnes, you could call it a sophomore slump, right? So it's just the Raptors are directionless right now.
That's a good point. They need to choose a direction.
Exactly.
And I think Portland is desperate.
Yes.
And so they kind of have that honestly is like a match made in heaven. You were going to say something about Shaedon Sharpe, or?
I just think that the Raptors, did they make the plan? They didn't make it, right?
They did make the play-in and then lost, I think, both play-in games. They lost to the Hawks. Oh, no, they just lost to the Bulls. Yeah.
I think you're right. Yeah.
They just
but
lost to
anyways,
the Bulls.
They just, they're in that like bubble tier where they're not going to make it pretty much. They need to figure out what they're going to do. They have Fred VanVleet, Scotty Barnes, Pascal.
They fired their coach.
Yeah, Nick
right?
Nurse is gone, and their top associate went to the Bucks.
Yeah, I mean, look at the roster. They have Gary Trent, Precious Achua, You know, like decent role players. Gary Trent,
Jakob Poeltl.
D guy. Jakob Poeltl, right?
I do
back.
like Jakob.
I love Yaka.
I forgot about him.
Yeah.
I forgot.
But, like, none of them really, like, it was a roster you looked at, like, oh, this could be good. You play with them once on 2K, you're like, oh, wait, the Raptors might be kind of nice. And then you watch them play, and you're like, these guys stink. Like, these guys who, they're supposed to have these outside shooters. OG's supposed to be this world-class defender that's supposed to garner, like, 4 first-round picks.
Ridiculous.
Like, what
That is
are
crazy.
What are we doing here? That's crazy. So they're in a really tricky spot, the Toronto Raptors.
Yeah, if I'm them, I'm looking hard at moving Siakam. I'm looking hard at moving Fred VanVleet for sure.
I think they should just blow it up. I think everyone's just got to go.
And hold on to the young guys.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, blow up and just build around Scotty, Jakob Poeltl, and some of the other guys you mentioned. Malachi Flynn.
Yeah,
I don't
Andy
know if he counts.
Delano Banton,
Yeah,
Husker legend.
Let's build around Delano.
I love that guy.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I did have another trade
Wait,
proposal.
yeah, Andy's got something real
Oh,
quick,
Andy's
Chris.
got it.
Yeah. He's on the Small Ball podcast.
Yeah, I gotta disagree. I'm siding with the Toronto fans here. I think what they have is good. Like it's like the building around Scotty Barnes is that's kind of like a hard thing to do. Like, you know, there's very few players that you can build something around. So I think like saying that is a little bit difficult, like more difficult than you think. And the pieces that they have now are fitting. They just kind of need a little bit of tweaking here and there, right? They have a good team. They have solid players. Pascal is good. VanVleet is good. Scotty Barnes is good. You already have the pieces that you need to fit in that together. Nick Nurse really couldn't get it done, you know. At some point you lose the culture of the locker room, but I think what we're going to see this year in a new coach is going to be really interesting, and we'll see what type of spark gets brought back between these two group of guys.
Do you think you could build around Giannis Antetokounmpo?
Even Giannis as a rookie, like he's not a player that you would want to build around.
No. Do you think that you can build around Giannis as he is?
As he is right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
What?
You can like
He's
you
the
can
best player, one of the best players in the NBA. You can build around him.
Yeah, he's one of the best, but he's not Scotty Barnes. So Scotty Barnes is.
I know. I was gonna make a joke that then you could build around Scotty Barnes.
Oh.
I think Scotty Barnes is going to develop into a player that you can definitely build around, which is why you build around them now so that they can elevate their game. So I love Scotty. I think he can.
That is one thing for our small ball fans to know. Trevor, Scotty Barnes truther. Top 10 Scotty Barnes.
Top 10 Scotty
That's where
Barnes.
Trevor has him. I'm not sold on Scotty to be
Top
that
10 what, by the way?
Top 10 in the NBA. Didn't you say he'd be top 10 in the NBA?
Oh, at one point in his career?
Yeah.
Bingo.
That is wild.
That's really high
honest.
expectations.
Hey,
I
save this.
Yeah,
Mark
save-
this
save
in
the
your
receipts.
memory and come back to me in 3 years.
Yeah. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, just continue on the topic of trading the Blazers pick.
Yeah.
I did have another proposal for you guys. You
I'm
might have
listening.
heard about, might not have, but the same package, the third pick, which could turn into Brandon Miller, Scoot Henderson, whatever the Hornets don't pick.
Scott Ayers.
Right. So that package for Mikal Bridges. What do you guys think?
I don't know if it's enough. I mean, the Nets were turning down big offers, apparently, like at the trade
Grizzlies
deadline.
offered 4 first-round picks.
The Grizzlies, if the Grizzlies offered 4 first-round picks, I don't see.
Which those are Grizzlies picks.
Yeah, those are Grizzlies picks, but you would have to assume Portland's picks would be in a similar tier if they're gunning for it. And I do like Anthony. I think he is a guy who needs to get out of Dame's shadow. But again, I don't think it's enough for Bridges.
But what if the third pick ends up being Scoot Henderson?
Okay.
That's a franchise starter player, right?
Yeah.
And Nets have probably some of the best defenders in the entire league. Finney Smith and Nick Claxton are just two of the names from I don't know. I feel like that's a good start for a franchise player to build.
Charlotte's at 2, right?
That's right.
See, that's what scares me though. If Charlotte does pick Scoot, Brandon Miller's obviously very talented. He could turn out to be amazing. But those 1-2 guys feel surefire. Everything else, I'm like, I don't know. And so that's, if it was the number 2 pick, as dumb as that sounds, it's just 1 pick difference, I would probably be a lot more interested.
Sure.
Versus you don't know who's going to be there at 3 like you do at 2.
It's too risky of a move for me. If you're Brooklyn, you have Mikal Bridges, and he's super sought after. He likes it there. Even, dude, he had a interview last week where he basically was just like, yeah, you know those guys, KD, Kyrie, James Harden? I am not at all like that. And it kind of came across as like you would read what he said and he's calling out these guys. But he's just being honest. He's like, listen, these guys are out, you know, saying things, doing all this stuff and kind of acting out, you know, drawing all this attention. He's like, that couldn't be further from me. I'm always smiling, having fun. I'm just going to stay in my lane, play basketball. And that's what Brooklyn needs. That's what Brooklyn needs after the past 3 seasons. It has been a dumpster fire. He is the perfect player for them right now to build around.
And I don't think we've seen a ceiling yet.
No, I don't think so. I think while he was in Phoenix, he played to the role, played what he needed to do. And then in Brooklyn, they need him to be the guy, and we saw what he could do down the stretch. Yeah. So I'm not out here saying that he's a number 1 option, or I'm saying that he could be potentially. And it's risky to give up a guy like that right now for them.
Agreed. But it's another one of those trades. If you're Portland, maybe you get desperate. Yeah, it's something else in that. Yeah. So, anyways, like Bridges and Dame side by side would that'd feed families for generations. It'd be so good. It'd be an upgraded Dame and CJ McCollum, honestly.
By far, just a way better defender.
Yeah. Exactly.
Way more of a reliable guy.
Yeah, dude. CJ was so up and down.
CJ's stuck. I feel like he's just dropped.
Yeah.
You know, and Mikal is just spiked.
Yeah. I like that, though. Do you have any other trades?
I just have a question about Portland really quick. We don't have to make this a huge thing, but Jeremy Grant, his contract is up this offseason. I believe he's a free agent.
Really?
Yeah. So, and he's probably going to command, he wants a lot of money.
He's so ridiculous.
It's always been that way since he had that one run with Denver.
He had one run with Denver. Denver offered him the same contract as the Detroit Pistons, and he chose Detroit because he wanted to be the guy. And then they drafted Cade Cunningham after being the worst team in the NBA. And then he became a second, third option. Then he came to Portland. They had this hot start, and then they stunk again. It just, listen. He was great for Denver because it led to Aaron Gordon, who's been the better fit. So thank you, Jeremy Grant, for choosing Detroit. But I'm not he's a good player, but
unrestricted free agent this offseason.
Wow,
it'll be very interesting to see what he wants, what he gets. Portland wants to bring him back. Are they going to pay him? Who knows?
Don't know. Portland's roster is so weird right now.
So
I mean,
weird.
they have
the worst center in the NBA.
They have Winslow. Who else do they have? And Nurkic, like you said.
The worst center. Yep.
Yeah. Totally unreliable. Always gets hurt.
Slaps fans' phones out their hands and
guy's a bozo.
Flops. Argues with refs all day. He sucks.
You think they could get DeAndre Ayton?
Is he on a max contract?
Yeah.
DeAndre?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, he signed.
He signed with Indiana,
that,
and then they matched.
Andy.
Right.
Yeah, his contract was he signed his contract with Phoenix, but he couldn't be traded for a year. Now that year is up, so he can be traded. I have a hard time seeing them moving him. I think they want to give it one more shot with another coach, see what happens, and then yeah.
Lord have mercy.
Yeah, Monty and Ayton did not get along. I remember in the offseason leading up.
Yeah.
Even into preseason, like training camp last year.
They want to talk.
They hadn't spoken since whatever. And that was on media day. So that's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. He signed a 4-year, $132 million contract with Phoenix. So
yeah,
$33 million a year almost.
I don't know if that's worth it. There's not a lot of teams that would trade for that, but I think that's something Phoenix will do. I know we're moving a little away from Portland, but I do actually want to talk about the Phoenix Suns briefly. off the record, or this was not off the record. This was off our plan, though. So for people listening to small ball, sometimes we get a little weird and we go off what we talked about before the show. But I do want to talk about the Suns just briefly because of Ayton and also because of this coaching search. Nick Nurse now off the table. I don't know. I understand why some people wanted Monty gone and why he got fired. But the Suns have to be careful with this hire because there is a great chance that the Suns actually downgrade from what they had in Monty. And I understand their 2 losses in the last 2 seasons were downright bad. And obviously that relationship with DeAndre Ayton was bad. But that roster was not good enough to win a championship this year. It just wasn't. It wasn't good enough.
As much as they need a new head coach, I think it's just as important to find some players that can play with Booker and KD. Because Torrey Craig, Shamet, Campaign, because Chris Paul was out, they're not going to cut it. They're not going to make any type of deep playoff run. You need those guys that are reliable, can play defense, and can score.
That's part of the issue with the way that they built their roster. You have all these superstars, and they get the max contract.
Contracts.
You're not going to be able to pay those guys. So these teams that are trying to make super teams, that's why I love watching Denver make this run. They beat the Lakers. They beat the Suns. They beat those stupid super teams that we had to watch for 4 or 5 years in the NBA that just, in my opinion, ruined the experience. For me, I hated those years. And people look back on them like they were this grand, Golden State. I'm getting on a tangent here.
No, I love this.
Golden State before KD came, big fan of them. Drafted that whole team. They signed Iguodala. It was awesome, super fun. And then they go and they sign Kevin Durant after winning 73 games in the regular season. It's just stupid.
It was so bad for the sport. And honestly, it's probably why we have this podcast today, because it was unbearable. And it's unbearable to watch these teams be able to bring in these massive contract guys because they attract all these great players. It just wasn't a fun product to watch. So, Trev, like you mentioned, that's why it's obviously special for me, the spot that Denver's in, and to see them beat a team like Phoenix, who went all in on essentially 3 guys plus DeAndre and Chris Paul, Devin Booker, and Kevin Durant. The problem is if someone is unhealthy, you have a massive issue. If someone is unreliable like Ayton, you have a massive issue. And then if you have a bench of guys who just aren't very good at basketball, you're screwed. You're totally screwed.
Yeah, one more quick comment on this whole Sun situation. They should not have fired Monty Williams. Think about it. They have the roster issues. They didn't give James Jones the offseason to build around those guys, and then give Monty that product, which I think they'll be able to get some vet minimum guys that can maybe fill that spot. But also, like I said, half the season, not even that.
Yeah,
just around
and
trade
it's
deadline.
never worked out where you sign a big guy at that midway point, you end up winning it all. And you have to build. And Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton were out that last game, which I'm not saying that's going to win you the series, but it's a factor when Granite Campaign balled in Game 6, but their defense was just terrible. Andy, I saw you raise your hand.
Yeah. Dang, I don't want to keep going on this, but I disagree. I think letting go of Monty was the right move. I actually don't think that the roster was that bad, because on the bench you have Josh Okogie, you have Torrey Craig, TJ Warren, and Terrence Ross, and then Damian Lee. All what did I name? 4 or 5 guys. All those guys can get you a certain amount of points. It was simply Monty's inability to adjust throughout each series. In the finals with the Bucks, we saw it. He couldn't adjust. With Dallas last year, we saw it. He couldn't adjust. And last year, granted, too, they didn't have enough firepower against Dallas. And this year, it was simply that failure to adjust. They made the right roster changes. They had a decent roster with role players that have been known to be scorers, exactly what they needed. These were all the right moves that were taking place to build a roster built for the finals. The reason why they couldn't do it is because of locker room issues with the coach and the players and failure to adjust. All of those are leading straight towards Monty letting go. Like it's not no hard feelings because what he did was amazing, but when your time's up, and you have to be willing to accept it, which he did.
Yeah. My only counter to that, because there were, don't get me wrong, like the DeAndre Ayton thing was bad, but I think there is some importance to that coaches having a longer leash than we sometimes give them. Because Mike Malone struggled in his first 2 or 3 seasons in Denver. Like, thank goodness they kept him. And Spoelstra's always been great, but there is something about building. And I understand that it was a decent roster, but Terrence Ross and TJ Warren were bad in that second series. Torrey Craig was unplayable in that second series. He couldn't score. He scored against the Clippers. He was a traffic cone out there because he's supposed to be a defender, and he wasn't defending either. So he literally was a traffic cone. You might as well, your fifth guy, put a traffic cone at midcourt and be like, all right, that's our fifth.
Might as well put you out there, Scott.
Literally, it'd be more effective. At least I'm a body. And you know what? Like, even DeAndre Ayton, the adjustments were bad, but he had no motor. Like, the guy plays with no motor, which is really sad because he's a number 1 overall pick. So, and they had to have transcendent shooting games from Devin Booker to win games 3 and 4. Because you know who sucked that series? Kevin Durant. Whoa. That was heavy. But Kevin Durant, he had 30 points a couple times because he shot 16 free throws. He sucked in that second round. And we started to see Father Time catch up a little. So, whoa. So Monty struggled, and I understand him getting fired. Phoenix, if they try to run it back, it's going to be similar unless they get healthy. They have to make some changes, though. Not just coaching, but to that roster as well. Maybe they add, like, the 3 guys on this podcast.
You know, they could do... Hey, I would love that. Maybe they could do some sort of package where they trade Ayton, and they roll with Landale somehow. And they trade Ayton for some good wings and maybe a really good backup point guard.
Something to back up Chris Paul. Because when Chris Paul goes out, like, relying on it just, I mean, it hurts my soul. Our camera went off, so our YouTube listeners are hurt. But I'm just, my head is in my face is in my hand. Just the idea of campaign and Landry Shamet having to lead your team in the playoffs, I want to throw up. I mean, it's disgusting.
You're going to be okay.
I'm not going to be okay.
Here's what they can do. Trade Ayton to the team that signed him.
Pacers,
you can go to the Pacers, and you can, you talk about backup point guards. I don't know if there's a better backup point guard than TJ McConnell. Yes.
Ooh.
The TJ McConnell. He'd be interesting. And then you can also get shooting with Buddy Hield. They've been trying to move Miles Turner for what seems like 34 years. Yeah. And so those guys are available. Is Ayton enough to get all 3? No. But you can move pieces. You can work with that, draft picks, all that. I think that makes sense for both teams because then you pair up Tyrese Halliburton with DeAndre Ayton. Oh. And then you have Nembhard to develop off the bench. You have help me out. Give me some patience.
Brissett
yeah,
is there.
come on.
They have Buddy.
Mathurin. Come on.
Oh, good point. I forgot about him.
Yeah, I just butchered his name.
That would actually be fun.
Yeah.
Do they have a draft pick this year?
Yes, they do. They
right?
have the 7th pick. But 7th pick. But it
could turn out pretty good.
Yep.
So that's the thing.
Gosh, hold on. I need to double check if they have the 7th or 8th pick, but keep going.
No, but that would be something that could be interesting. A retooling for the Suns. And honestly, a change of scenery could be great for Ayton. I know his relationship with Monty was bad. Seems like his relationship with Chris Paul isn't very good.
He just struggles with relationships.
And we want to help him.
Scott's therapy is here.
Yeah, literally.
Scott's therapy.
Ayton, let's talk, man. Let's talk. But I think that would be really good. And let me take this quick second. Kyle Gehring, friend of the show, honestly has been on the show a couple times. Was in our fantasy league for about
a month.
Yeah, I was going to say like 8 days. But Kyle, we love you, dude. We're sorry about your sons. This segment was for you, though. That's about it. That's all he gets.
We're just trying to help.
Yeah, we're just trying to help you, Kyle.
It's not you, it's them.
It's not you, it's them, Kyle. We love you.
Yeah.
Gosh, that's good. He's gonna love that.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've talked really. Any other trades, Chris, or was that it? I know we went
That
on
was pretty
tangent.
much it on the trade ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Probably approaching an hour right now.
Yeah, it's probably getting close. Andy's shaking his head. Andy's like, dude.
Wrap this up. I need to get home.
He's like, I need to go out and take a smoke.
I need to watch the Ted Lasso finale.
I need to. Ooh, that finale's gonna be really good.
Yeah. What do you think happens?
Okay, here's my predictions.
This is our Ted Lasso segment.
No, this is a spoiler. This is.
Hey, warning, we're going to be talking about the second to last episode. And this is our review.
Wait, have
preview.
you not seen it, Andy?
You haven't seen the second to last? Okay.
Okay, here was my predictions at the start of the season. Yeah, I know, Trev.
Trev is stressed out. He's sweating.
Ted is going home. This prediction, Ted's going to go home. Nate will become the coach. What else? What else did we say? I feel like Ted going home was like that's the easiest one though.
Mm-hmm.
Beard stays. Beard stays in it.
Oh, Beard is absolutely staying.
Can't
That's
leave Jane.
certified no doubter.
Yeah.
Ted is going to be the only one I think who leaves.
Wait, did Ted Lasso and what's the owner's name?
Rebecca.
Did they kiss on the or the second to last or the third to last?
I think they kiss on the last.
Or on the no.
Oh,
Did you see that?
Nope.
Oh, shoot, Andy.
I kind of saw it coming. They were eyeing each other in the beginning of the season. Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I made that up.
Really? I feel like they were eyeing each other.
No,
though, so
but
coulda saw
I
it
get that,
coming,
bro.
yeah.
I get that.
I've seen that rumor too.
Right?
They end together, or at least
Yeah.
they kiss.
Wait, what?
I've seen that as a predicted ending.
Oh, a prediction.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
think that they
prediction.
kiss.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't like it, but
I'd
Yeah.
like that.
You would?
Yeah,
I would like that too. I think they're soulmates.
yeah.
I
Feels
think they're
right.
soulmates.
It's sad. Ted Lasso's like up there as one of the greatest shows ever, with Game of Thrones.
Succession just ended.
Succession just ended, and I didn't see a single episode.
Hey, maybe that's the new house show because people talk about it like it's the
It's got a cult following.
It's like the
Yeah.
Breaking Bad of like
yeah.
Yeah.
today's age.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Anyways,
All right. Well, that's it, I guess, for the small ball episode. Oh gosh,
you okay?
no. Small ball podcast episode featuring Chris Fong, our big market bozo. Oh, actually, Chris, did you still want that minute?
I'm glad we waited to the 60th minute. But let's do it.
When all the listeners are just waiting for my 1 minute.
Dude, I'll be honest. There's no chance any listeners have gotten to this point.
It's just Janelle's
Hey,
dad.
hold on. Before we do that, I had
Yeah.
I had a buddy text me. He's like, "Bro, I still listened to that moment, and you didn't shout me out. So this is my moment."
Oh, shout him out.
Jesse King.
Wow.
Shout out to Jesse King, baby.
Shout out Jesse.
I watched Jesse play basketball once, and he was the greatest basketball player I've ever seen.
You know what they call him?
Who?
Pivot God.
Yeah.
He just he gets to the block and just pivot.
Dude, he didn't miss a shot. I
No.
was like, who are these? What's in the water out in Phoenix? These people are
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah, so shout out to you, Jesse. Anyways.
Yep, shout out, Jesse.
I have my timer here.
Okay.
And you get what's the thing? He gets a minute to talk about what?
He said he had a minute to talk about the L words.
Oh gosh. All right, minute starts.
The big
in
market
3,
bozo minute.
2, 1.
I just want to say I appreciate the effort that the Lakers put in this year. D'Angelo Russell played well during the season. He won me a little bit of money this year.
That guy stinks.
But in the playoffs, he was pretty bad. Shout out to Rui Hachimura, my brother.
Corporal Booty.
Shout out to Dennis Schroeder, played super well. Austin Reeves, out of command. Contract this summer.
This guy's just
LeBron James. We need some respect for LeBron James. Woo! Just me. Anthony Davis.
Talking piece of
playing better.
glass.
And you know what? I'll just end it early because Scott and Trevor are both crying right now. That this team's being talked about.
Is it
on
over?
this
Is it
podcast.
over?
Oh,
Oh, Chris, thank you.
Wow,
Yeah,
thank
no.
you. With 14 seconds to spare, you
Oh,
didn't have
no, that
enough. He couldn't fill the time with good things to say
Yeah,
about the
that's so
Lakers.
embarrassing.
Oh, of course.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
I
so
can fill it
embarrassing.
up if you want
No,
me to.
no,
No.
Nah.
No.
Nah.
Austin Reeves is sick, and Vanderbilt. I will say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say Reeves and Jared Vanderbilt, they need to be in a small market.
They are small. They're not quite Tobias Harris level
No.
of like guys that are
Right.
trapped.
Reeves belongs in the Midwest. I don't know where.
Oklahoma
He's just that
City
kinda guy.
would be awesome.
Reeves in an OKC jersey.
Would look really
I would
good.
buy that.
Yeah.
Or Utah.
That gets me excited.
He belongs in a small market.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's it for an episode, guys, of the Small Ball Podcast. Chris, thanks for coming on.
Thank you guys.
Small Ball, let's give it up for him.
The drum roll from last year or last week. Yeah, that was so funny.
That was sick, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Chris, I don't know when you'll ever be on the show again, man.
Dude, it might be a year from now.
Our studio just needs headphones, and then we could start zooming people
Yeah.
in. So, I mean, the invitation's there
Maybe he shows up for the 2-year celebration.
in 4 years.
my annual trip down to Arizona.
Wait, yeah, Scott, what did you have planned for the 1-year celebration?
1-year, 2-week celebration. So I was thinking that I didn't have that planned today. But what I'm thinking is it's just going to be a surprise.
Okay.
So maybe it's next week.
Yeah, we've waited a couple weeks for the celebration that you said that you wanted to do.
It's now turning into the 1-year surprise party.
Oh, sick.
So that way it's least expected for when we celebrate our 1 year of the Small Ball Podcast, which was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Okay.
So just be on the lookout for that.
We're waiting desperately, Scott.
Yeah.
See, Chris is saying that as a fan.
Wow.
It's true.
Gosh, that was good. Well, for our great producer, Andy, who, man, it's just great to have him back.
It's good.
Hell yeah.
And obviously Chris Fong. But, Trevor, you've been on a hot streak of being here the last couple months. I know Christian gives you a hard time for not showing up,
Yeah.
but you're here.
I'm hearing he's not.
So take that in stride.
I think Chris is. I think he wants a spot, the third spot on
Whoa.
the small ball pod.
Well, we always take applications when a guy's
Yeah.
missing.
So Christian's out. We're taking your applications.
We'll take your apps. I'm Scott Ayers. See ya. We'll see ya. Ooh, I don't know if we'll see people next week.
Yeah.
I'll be gone. Andy's gone.
50-50 chance.
50.
I may get Kyle Gearing and him and I just do a show. We'll see.
Love that. Small Ball fans, you're going to love that episode.
Yep.
Until hopefully next week. We will see you next week.
Nuggets in 4.